I'm here in the beautiful Valentini Foundation in Luxembourg, in Remerschen, where I will play a recital tonight at the Mosel Musik Festival. Valentini was a great architect and this whole building is dedicated to him. And I get many questions about how to play octaves, because octaves are often an issue for many pianists, so I wanted to speak about that in this video today. I'm Aaron Pilsan, an international concert pianist, and I want to show you the most important things that you have to know if it comes to playing octaves on the piano. So first of all, what is an octave? An octave is, physically speaking, exactly half of the length of a string. So if you have strings in a piano and you take half of the length, then you will have an octave. That's how it resonates. And on the keyboard, that's always the same key, right? So this is an octave with Cs, this is an octave with G sharps. And when pianists say that they have struggles playing octaves on the piano, that means that they are struggling with difficult passages that have many octaves in a row. It's really dependent on the level of the pianists, like what kind of octaves are difficult. If you are a beginner, it might already be difficult for you to play a single octave, which you will find very often in classical music and endings, for example. So what you have to do here is, you have to find the right position where you can really grab with your hands, because it's important that we really use also our muscles in the hand and not just the arm. But that's something I talk a lot about in my master classes. If you are more advanced, of course, you might struggle with jumps, octave jumps, for example, or other difficult passages, repeated octaves and other things. I have a few examples later on in the video, so stay tuned. How you should practice octaves really depends on the kind of octaves. We have octaves that are being played legato, for example, in Chopin's octave study, the Opus 25, number 10, we have you play octaves with first finger and fifth finger, but also with the fourth and the third if your hand is big enough. So it really depends also on the size of your hands how you will approach octaves. And you have also staccato octaves. In the Sixth Hungarian Rhapsody by Liszt, for example, if you have a legato octave, obviously you can only play legato with the third, fourth and fifth finger, not with the thumb really that you do with your imagination. But if you have a staccato octave, you play that much differently. And it's important that you really practice each of them with different methods. What you also have to consider is if you play an octave with only your fingers, for example, in the beginning of the Chopin, there you have finger octaves. You have also wrist octaves, in this, or really arm octaves, for example, Brahms' Piano Concerto. Played that perfectly now. I would also have to practice this, but I think you get an idea. So you play either from the shoulders or from the arms or from the hands or from the fingers, so you have different possibilities of approaching them. And you also need different muscles, of course, so you need to use more of these muscles. For the smaller octaves you need to use more of this for the bigger octaves. And the challenge is mostly how to make it work that you have the right amount of tension and relaxation. I have talked about this a lot in other YouTube videos of mine, where it comes to technique in general, but especially with octaves, it's very important that you know how to approach them, because if you have them for a longer period of time, for example, let's take the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto, you have these octaves here, and you have that ongoing for a page or more, or in Liszt's Piano Sonata, you have that as well. So we have octaves for a long period of time. There it's really important that you know how you can play them strongly, but how you can also use these micro moments in between to really relax, so that you don't get tired too much. If you have, for example, you're doing sports, you also have to know that you cannot like sprint, for hours. You have to also take breaks in between. So that's very important to practice also with specific exercises when you want to master these passages. Generally said, it's also important that you don't have too much tension on your hand. It's important that, especially if you have smaller hands, that you don't force that octave, and if you have bigger hands, that you don't stick to that one position, but that you're flexible in your hand. That's also very important, and that needs to be covered also with specific exercises. I would be very interested to know from you also which octave passages are challenging for you. So I want you to write into the comments which passages are very challenging, so that I know and understand, what kind of passages are very, very difficult. I came up with these passages, by Liszt, Piano Sonata, Hungarian Rhapsody, by Brahms in the Piano Concerto, also by other composers. There are also very, very difficult passages. The last point that I want to cover here is that it's important to also practice them musically, that you really understand that an octave is two voices, that you have two voices, that it's not just, one thing that you hit all the time, but it's actually two voices, even in very virtuoso passages here. In Tchaikovsky's Finale in the Piano Concerto, for example, you have even four voices, that you really understand that as, growing sound, that it's something that is more powerful and more elaborate than just single voices, in order to play that really convincingly. If you just view it from the technical aspect, you will never succeed. You also have to view it in the context of the piece and really understand why the composer wrote octaves there and not just one voice. You could also write this. Of course, that's also an etude for octaves, but it's important to understand that this actually brings in more expression. Or in the case of the Piano Concerto by Brahms, that's a very powerful passage, the wake-up moment after this very, very calm passage, and that's why he wrote four voices. So it's like really this eruption, this big moment in the music. So the octaves always have a special meaning, and this is what you have to understand. Of course, the main aspect will always be the technical part, because as I have also said, technique is always the ability to express what you imagine. So if you know already what you want to imagine, the most work will always be the technique. And if you want to learn that with me together, if you want to learn first of all what you need to imagine in the music, what is possible, and then also how to get there with your technique, how you use your muscles, and also which specific exercises you need for which piece in order to make it work, then you should apply for a free test lesson with me, for a free strategy session where we will really analyze where you are at the moment with your playing, where you want to go, and maybe we'll also look at your hand, what's the size of your hand and what you need to consider if you play an octave. And then we'll also work out a step-by-step plan for you. We'll look at your time situation, how much time you have to actually work on these things, and then we'll work out a plan together how you can master the pieces that you want to play, be it Chopin etude or other pieces. So all you have to do is you have to fill out this free form there, aaronpilsen.com/academy. There you will find all the details. And as I've said, please let me know in the comments which are your favorite octave passages, but also your most challenging ones. And I will probably review them in other videos. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. We'll see each other in the next video, and I will prepare myself for my recital tonight. Follow my channel so you don't miss any video, and we'll see each other in the next video. Take care.